Hey, welcome back to Album April. It's April 23rd, and today I listened to Nevermind by Nirvana. Why yes, this is not the original album artwork, you're so observant for noticing. Looking back on it, I think it's kind of hard to overstate just how much Nirvana changed rock culture. They got huge and the entire landscape started changing. The glitz and opulence of glam rock and hair metal was now seen as superficial. People were looking for something raw, more real. They were dissatisfied with their lives and they wanted music that reflected that angst. Enter grunge, and one of the first bands to bring it to the mainstream was Nirvana. Besides being incredibly influential, Nirvana's second album, Nevermind, is one of the best-selling albums ever and is currently number 6 on Rolling Stone's best albums of all time. My first impression of Nevermind was that most of these songs were so cryptic they could basically mean whatever you want them to mean. The first track on this album, Smells Like Teen Spirit, would go on to become one of the most iconic hits of the 90s, and nobody seemed to really know what it was about. I talked in my Jagged Little Pill review about the rise of irony in 90s music, and this kind of plays into it. The idea that some of the songs don't make sense, some of the songs directly contradict themselves multiple times. A lot of the songs on this album sort of convey, I don't really know what I'm feeling, but I'm feeling it a lot. And there's definitely a place for that. My favorite song from Nevermind was Lithium. This and Smells Like Teen Spirit were the only two songs from this album that I knew about before this. Lithium is a song about depression, and it kind of demonstrates that with the highs and lows by constantly going back and forth, constantly contradicting itself. I found it to be the catchiest and best-sounding song from Nevermind. I also thought that Come As You Are was pretty good. I also recognized one of the lyrics in Drain Me, I don't care what you think as long as it's about me, as the one that got sort of adapted into a Fall Out Boy lyric. The instrumentation on this album is very interesting. I really liked the bass on Nevermind. Nirvana's bassist, whose name I'm probably butchering, Chris Novoselic, did a really good job. And then there's the question of were there songs on Nevermind that I didn't like? Yes, there were. There were two. First one was Territorial Pissing, which I just found kind of ugly and unpleasant, but even more than that, I didn't like the closing track of the album, Endless Nameless. Honestly, they could have named this Endless Nameless Meaningless. In a lot of the songs on this album, it's hard to make out what Kurt Cobain is actually singing. That problem is present throughout the entire album, but it is especially bad in Endless Nameless. I could not understand a single word. Coupled that with the fact that the song goes on for a really long time, and it was just kind of tedious to me. There was nothing for me to latch on to. So, closing thoughts. I do think that Nevermind by Nirvana holds up. Nirvana wasn't just in the right place at the right time. There was something legitimately compelling about this band. Nirvana was not a long-lived band. Kurt Cobain would be dead in a few years after Nevermind, but in the short time they were here, they made a huge impact, and it's not difficult to see why. It's not one of the best albums I've listened to this whole month, but it is pretty good for what it is. I'll see you tomorrow.